Amazing. So I am here with my client, Valerie, and she has a lot of beautiful messages to share with all of you today to help you to own your creativity. She was my client in a few cohorts ago, and she's just done such great work. And I want to make sure that I get her title right, but she is here we go. Valerie Stanton is an intuitive guide and energy worker. She supports sensitive rebels, badass empaths, and magical misfits in stepping into their leadership of their lives so they can stop feeling drained and start sharing their gifts with the world. Dang, that touches my heart. How does it feel to hear that?
It feels good. It feels really good.
It
Yeah.
really does because I've seen you since for a year now. We've been working together, and I see my clients step into their boldest message, and it's like, wow, this is on point. This is really going to help the world.
Mhm.
And so I'd love to share for you to share, how did you get started? What made you want to become this energy worker and intuitive guide?
Yeah. I would say for a long time, I was in a mode of seeing all of the ways that I didn't fit in to the structures that were out there and built for me. So whether that was school and like I love learning, but I never felt like I fit into the structures and systems that were out there that I was kind of corralled into. Um, but I was always really sensitive and I was always really tuned in. I mean, I was teased for being like a space cadet when I was a kid, and
Yeah.
but really, I was like doing energy work all the time. I was always tuned into those realms. And as I got older, it became really clear to me after I met who ended up being my energy work mentor, that that was what I was supposed to do. And it felt so good to finally see not only what didn't feel right, but to start to feel into what was possible and be able to see a future and see somebody else doing it. And I was like, whoa, I could get paid to do something that I love and that I'm naturally good at, and I can stop trying to fit myself into places that it doesn't work. Um,
Yes.
yeah, so it was felt amazing to start that journey, but then it's a whole other ballgame taking it online.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I have watched and witnessed you blossom and like more boldly say what it is that you're here to do. And it comes from your
Mm,
story. I'm hearing of like, hey, I felt like a misfit. And
yeah.
so to be able to say, actually, I'm going to help other misfits and put that in your messaging and call those people forth and let those folks know that they are not alone and the things that make them like different or make
Mhm.
them unique are the things that help others the most, like the things that people call you out on. You're a space kid. I got called a dreamer, and I got called like chatty Cathy. Like I was just like in trouble all the time for talking, and now I have made a six-figure business from talking.
Yes, I love that. I love that. Yeah.
Amazing. So, what are some messages that you want to share today with my audience? I know that you bring such a unique perspective to this industry of like really actually helping people to move past the blocks, the energetic blocks that would
Mm.
prevent them from sharing their gifts. So, why don't you give a little bit of an overview of how you work?
Yeah, I would love to. Yeah, so part of translating my energy work into online has been that right now I predominantly work one on one with people. And because I'm really reclaiming a lot of the ways that our culture has like the hustle and like boom, 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 and like get rich quick and like all of these different kind of like schemes that I feel like are out there. I'm like, ooh, let's actually kind of step away from that sense of urgency and create a lot of spaciousness for you to start to enjoy your time with yourself more and be step into like leadership from like you are here to actually lead a new way of being, And so I love doing that one-on-one with people and in 6-month containers. We have plenty of time. So people aren't like, oh, okay, gotta be doing this really fast. Because a lot of the work that I do is really helping people to shed the people pleasing things that are instilled in a lot of folks who are sensitive and empathic. So it's creating a lot of spaciousness for them to come home to themselves. And so I do that by having a monthly ceremony with folks where I'm really deeply supporting them. And then we're dropping into the energetic realm, connecting with all the support that's available to them so that they are deepening their connection with spirit and feeling sourced by that and like lit up by that so that they can take that with them into their daily lives. And then I provide a couple of check-ins every month where it's more like coaching and supporting them on what's come up in the human world since it's starting to anchor that support, right? Because inevitably, we have the human challenges that need human support. And then I also have an integration week every month as well. And that is kind of helping folks to step into the role of being space holder for themselves. So we don't meet live on Zoom that week, but they have a guided meditation or some journaling or something to do. And support from me still in the energetic realm, where they can be kind of stepping into that leadership of like, oh, I've carved this time in my schedule and I can practice being here even when somebody is not, holding me completely in that space. So we just
Yes.
take that like 6 months to just like deepen into that self-confidence and start to really build the bridge of ritual, ceremony, and then bringing that out into the world so that they can, just see how powerful that it is in their own lives and take their own medicine and then be like, okay, I can't help but offer this to other people too.
I love that so much because what I have known to be true over this last year is the more that I open myself to receive coaching, guidance, energy work, massage, that I am able to transmit a new and powerful energy and share my gifts
Mm,
in a more powerful way. I'm able to coach
yeah.
people because I am open to receiving coaching. And
Yeah.
this is the energetics of it all, that what you're providing for people helps them to share their gifts because they are showing up for themselves and allowing themselves to receive and investing
Yes.
in themselves in that way. And my program focuses on cultivating the offer that
Mhm.
you're so excited to offer the world. And I
Yeah.
know, when we first start out, there's so much that we can offer. And so to hear exactly what your offer is and like how it helps people and how it is so valuable in the world, it's like, oh, it gives me like coach chills because it's like
Mhm.
that's what I would love everyone to receive from my
Yeah.
space is this
Yeah.
clarity of this is who I am and owning
Mhm.
that. And this
Yeah.
is my offering and owning that.
Yeah.
And here's how it's so helpful to these kind of people, to these kind of dream clients. And so you've been able to build this business and call forth client after client who's ready to do that deep inner work. But why don't you tell my audience what it was like before you had clarity on your offer or before you actually were like, yeah, this is the thing.
Woo, yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness. So I was originally really called to you and your work because I found it so grounding.
Mm,
And before then, I mean, when you don't have those structures and systems outside of you, when you don't have to go, to a job and clock in and there's a manager is like, okay, like when's that going to be done or whatever the system is, it can feel almost unsafe the amount of spaciousness that you have. And I
mm.
think I was in that place of feeling lost. So I was like, okay, I have so many feelings. And it was like,
Yeah.
I was processing this huge backlog of just like emotions. I felt like I was just constantly like digesting ideas, but that I didn't have supportive systems to channel that energy into. And so it's like I'm an ideas person and I could have like 1,500 great ideas every day, but I didn't know how to how to create the stable foundation to build that from. And so, yeah, I felt unstable. I felt emotionally unstable. I felt like, oh, I just like, I'm taking a long shower and crying, and I'm like trying to, get my energy into focus. But I was spending all my time trying to just like self-care. When you're building a business, it is asking you to, also know what your business needs. And I wasn't doing a lot of that.
Yeah. And you're a mom too, and that's no secret, it's part of your life, and you
Yeah.
share that, and it's like, and that's what's so amazing to me is like, not only were you so great at taking care of yourself, but like you had another human to take care of and
Yeah.
a family, and you just graciously took the steps, because that's what it is when we don't know what, like, is this working? Like, is this
Yeah.
working? Like, there's a huge amount of trust that we have to put in to our business practices
Yeah.
before we see results. And then we start to trust. What I've always noticed about you, and why I was like, because I actually reached out to you, and I don't teach cold DMing. I teach magnetic strategies, but I was like, we're supposed to work together. I just need to know
Yeah.
her. I just need her to know that I know that. So like,
Yeah.
so I would, I did reach out to you to give you some information, to let you know that I was here and able to hold this. And and that's what it was, of like, if we just know that this is the first step in front of us, then we
Mm.
get to keep our big vision, because the big vision can
Yeah.
feel, it's like, this is my vision, like this
Yeah.
is big, to
Yeah.
hold that, and it can feel unsafe, but we can find safety in knowing that the next step is sharing my voice. Oh, and why I wanted to reach out to you is I feel like you've always had this level of trust in your words,
Mm.
and this is what I help people to really do, is like, to write, to write
Yeah.
to write content that reaches through a screen and pulls forth folks who are ready for the work that we do. And you
Yes.
already have that. So I was like,
Mhm. Yeah.
dang. And to see you like just keeping with what works, because we don't need a new strategy. We
Yeah.
don't need, to have 5 different platforms going. We need to share our voice and our story, have that trust within ourselves, and then be open to receive. And
Mhm.
that's what's really beautiful. That's why you're so the person to help someone else with this, because you're holding space for their micro goals and their mini steps, and they're just a place to land. That's what I love,
Yeah.
what we do in this world. Yeah.
Yes.
So is there
Yeah.
anything that you wanted to say to somebody who was thinking about getting started, sharing their gifts, getting started with their coaching business, or their energetic business, or their intuitive guidance business, and they were like, I don't know where to start. What's that kind of first step?
Mm, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's the part that I feel like is really like I honestly like what you were saying about writing because my business, I feel like, and the basis of what really lights me up is just connection. And so knowing that by beginning to put yourself out there in an intentional way that's connection based, that's built off of building relationships, that's really what we're doing. Like that's what you and I did through it. It's like what everybody is, the goal is really building these beautiful relationships that help us to grow. And so I think my advice would be to start doing that, like to not wait until you think like, oh, like now I'm a certain level of ready to do that because it is such a beautiful progression. But even if you woke up and decided, I'm ready today, it doesn't mean it's like you need to build the real life skills that come along with it. And so putting yourself out there, it is a skill, like allowing yourself. I think I joined your Facebook group back when it was called, it was like about visibility. It was
Mm,
visible for visibility. Yeah, it was something about
visible AF.
visibility.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that to me is a really big thing, is like to allow yourself to step into that level of what I call leadership, which is just saying, hey, I have something really beautiful and valuable. Like, let me start putting it out there and start connecting with people who are doing the same thing. Because that's when, you teach in your program, when you start to make an offer, you already have people who, even if you haven't heard anything from them, even if they haven't liked any of your posts, you have like you basically have an audience who is ready for your medicine. And so I
Oh,
think it's just like start sharing what's on your heart in the very beginning.
it's so true because once we move past the visibility blocks that are normal because
Yeah.
these are subconscious sometimes as well. Is like I think that I enjoy being seen. Like there's a little girl in me that was center of attention all of the time. It's what something that I worked with my mentor and I help people to move through as well is hiding in plain sight even of like, well, I put my
Mm,
words out there, but how boldly are we claiming our
yeah.
gifts? How boldly are we saying that this is what I help you to accomplish? And because we start to think of ourselves a little bit too much. Like
Yeah.
when we're so used to like sharing our story
Yeah.
and we may actually think sometimes like that it's actually about us. And like
Right.
it's like I talk about myself all day, but I'm sharing stories that are going to help
Yeah.
people to find me, to feel at home in
Yeah.
my containers, and to so because that relationship helps the strategy, any kind of tool,
Mm,
any kind of modality that any of us work with
yeah.
is reinforced by the relationship and the connection. So when you share
Yes.
your voice, you make a connection with somebody and you inspire someone. And then there are certain set of skills that I now teach my folks beyond that, where it's like, okay, well, how do I invite them into my program that I
Yeah.
so intentionally created? Like, how do I actually sell? How do I package this up? How do I work through the
Mm,
idea that this costs too much? Who's going to buy this? And it's like, because I work with a lot of confident leaders. They are already confident leaders and they
yeah.
still are like, but is this too much? Am I too much?
Mm, right.
and,
Yes.
and, and we all get to have support around that just because I support people with that, I work with those things with my folks.
Totally. Yeah. Keeps it relevant, as a thing to be sharing when you're actually it's a thing that, yeah, you move through in different levels. Totally. Yes. I
Yes,
love that.
so amazing. So, is there something that's coming up for you in the next weeks? I know you're always sharing beautiful content in your group, that this group is a very sacred place. I'm in your group and we get to brag our ass off. There's so many beautiful days and themes that we get to allow ourselves to be seen. It's a very
Yeah.
beautiful place and collective. And do you have anything coming up in the near future that the folks that are watching can sign up for?
Yeah, yeah. So definitely hop in the Facebook group. It's always an amazing time, and I go live in there every Tuesday, 10 a.m. Eastern time. But also, yeah, I am launching another round of one-on-one starting in this coming January. And so if you see this, I don't know if this will be uploaded by then, but if it
Oh,
is,
yeah, I'm fast.
oh, okay, cool. Because I was gonna say, and yeah, and you can also always reach out to me despite what time it is too, to see if that's available. But yeah, I'm enrolling more one-on-one clients, and I just think like what a beautiful time to start in 2022. Just knowing going into the year, knowing that you're going to be supported for 6 months,
Ah,
is a really beautiful thing. So I would love to invite people into hopping on a free discovery call with me, and you get an hour of just being supported, and getting clarity on what it is you desire, and then we go into seeing if it's a right fit for us to work together. And I have so much fun on those calls and I get so much out of them. So yeah,
ah.
and just yeah, I would just say join the Facebook group otherwise, because there will be some more things coming up in January too. Some
Yeah.
to
And what's the name of the Facebook group? We'll have the link, but so people
cool.
can hear it out loud.
Yeah, it is Sacred Wild Leadership, and it's yeah all for badass empaths, sensitive rebels, and magical misfits who are really stepping into that leadership of their lives, because it does mean taking and building and growing, um, creating the world that we want to exist in. It takes support. it takes intention, it takes energy. And so I just love inviting people in there where the community is really on point and supportive.
Oh, that feels so amazing. And so I'm launching Conscious Creative Business School, which you are a graduate of. I'm launching that in January. But it's
Awesome.
open, available now for folks. And
Well,
this is the thing that you were talking about that step by step guidance. Because what I know from both of our work in the world, what we both know that I want to make sure that everybody who comes in contact with me knows is that exactly what you said, it takes support, it takes inner work.
yeah.
It takes inner work. People are always like, well, what's the work? Like, I don't want to work. And like, if you cannot skip ahead to the money and the clients and the dream business without doing some sort of evolutionary self-development.
Yeah.
And but in the same moment, you can also have like a step-by-step guide of this is what I do first to put out an offer. This is what I do second. This is how I gain the skills of selling. So I would want to ask you, after being a graduate of the business school, what is something that like you would tell somebody who is thinking about joining the business school and where they were on the fence?
Yeah, I would tell them to absolutely do it, like 100% from my heart. Go for it, because the amount of support that's available from your program, which is a group program, and I wasn't sure if I wanted a group program, I feel like is so extensive. And you really do show up in service to your clients. And it is obvious by the number of resources that you provide. I was like, I've never seen. That's why I was like, are you a Capricorn? I was like, I've never seen somebody consolidate to that level. And so it's like, I still use some of your resources and I'll be like, oh, I'm going to do, I want to do a webinar or whatever, for my launch. And I'll go back and be like, okay, like it's so helpful to have those tools all in one place than to have the community as a sounding board, where you can connect with peers and people who have graduated, and then to get support from you too. I mean, and you're very generous with your knowledge. I mean, you have a lot to share. So I think it's amazing that this is an offer that you've grown and then stuck with, because I'm like, wow, the people who are jumping in now are even getting a year later from what I received. And I already am like, overwhelmingly, that was a really fantastic investment. I have zero
Oh.
regrets.
Oh, that's such great feedback. And I thank you for that, because that I've heard that before. I love the checklist. I love the resources.
Yes.
And my program is there's a self component, a self-paced component. So you
Yeah.
can have that is lifetime access. So you can have those resources to return to if you
Yes.
want to deep dive again on your messaging, if you want to up level
Yeah.
your messaging. And that's how I feel. That's how I want business to feel like
Yeah.
there's not something that I'm hiding. There's no secret that you all already don't have. And these worksheet sheets and these resources help to pull from you what is already inside of you. And I remember you said that you
Yeah.
were like, you have a Trello template for this, like thank you. And it is this because I work with such flowy, incredible creative
Yes.
people, and we need a place to go like, this is step one, and this is what I do in step one. And thank you for you organizing this because my
Yes.
desk is a mess. And I
Yes.
wanted to say with the astrology is my Mars is in Virgo. And I think Mars, that organization piece, and it comes with the service. If I know that
Yeah.
this resource is going to help someone, then I'll pop it in there. And the last thing I want to say about that is I help my clients make a signature offering that they can
Mhm.
grow, because
Yeah.
I've seen how great it is, because I have now this offering, this asset
Yeah.
in front of me that I'm like, I know that it's good.
Yes.
And like maybe it
Yes.
wasn't great 2 years ago when I first launched it, but it was good enough.
Yeah.
And now it is amazing, and everybody gets lifetime access. So as I grow or add an updated lesson, that you all get that. So thank you for giving me that feedback. It's just like, yes, this is why I teach this, so that you all can have
Yes.
assets in your business. If you create a workbook and it took you 3 months to create that workbook, you
Yeah.
want to use that for a year. You don't want to just be on to the next offer, on to the next thing. You get
Totally.
better and better and better at your offer and understanding what your dream clients need from you, from having a signature offer. Just like I can hear from you, this offer that you offer folks, it's so aligned with who you are, and you've been
Mm,
offering it so much, you just kind of know who's right for your program, and
yeah.
who's going to show up, and you trust the process. And it's so beautiful when we get ourselves to this point, and we're both
Yes.
kind of giving you that message of it may take a little time, but it
Yeah.
definitely takes commitment.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. And you just gotta you gotta start practicing in order for it anything that you want to see results on, that you want to feel natural at. It takes a lot of practice. And I was in a lot of resistance to some of the things you were teaching in the beginning because I was like, no, I just want to like play jazz, and 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 the thing that was
Mm.
really freeing for me is like kind of what you teach about business, or what I was getting from what you were sharing about this was like, wait a second, I'm going to have life happens. There's all these emotional highs and lows, there's all these things that are going on. And I was like, I want my business to feel supportive of me. And like I can start to create some of this like steady rhythm, and I can improvise over here and over here, but like having that stable foundation, to me, that builds a level of safety in my nervous system to
Mm.
know that I can grow and expand in a way that's not just like not sustainable. And that's a
Yeah.
really big deal in
I
business.
love that because we're not actually going for fast results. They can come fast, but
Yeah.
we're going for sustainable results. And with both
Yes.
of our
Yes.
programs. And that feels good from the nervous system. And that will take coming to an edge. Oh, you and I have talked about this before, but coming to an edge and then and allowing space
Yeah.
for whatever comes up to come up, and then receiving support around it. And
Yeah.
that's what I want everybody to understand about our work in the world. Both of our work in the world is understand we both understand that.
Yeah.
You understand that, really, about coming to the edge, but not letting that edge or that fear or that feeling of unsafety stop you from doing what you desire to do. You want to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
you get to.
You get to.
Yeah, it doesn't mean, but like if what you have been doing hasn't gotten you the results, then you also get to try something else.
Yes.
People are so resistant to structure, but what's cool about coming into my program is that like you don't have to structure yourself. Structure is already created. You still get to be
No.
you. You still get to be you. It's just like, and resistance is natural. Resistance is
Yeah.
natural. And when you kind of work with through your own resistance and see how a coach kind of works through your resistance with you and holds space for that resistance, then you become a better coach because and
Yes.
guide and intuitive guide. Because not, we would just love for all our clients to come in and be like, yep, love it all, thank you, and then just like just give us all their money and then like just be extremely happy and get results in one day. But that's not what happens. It's like they are going to have resistance just like we had resistance, and you know what that feels like, and you experience moving through
Yeah.
resistance in a way that feels good for you, and not forcing, because forcing is not what we're here for. But we may have to kind of have like cultivate the habit of devotion. And I will just speak to this for a moment, but like I was resistant to the word discipline. Whenever I'm
Mm.
feeling resistance to something, like I'll sit in it for as long as I want to, but because I'm a stubborn, resistant lady. But like I just changed the word. I
Yes.
just, I just,
Totally.
I just changed it. It is like,
Yeah.
no, it's devotion. I
Yes.
am not disciplined. I never have been. I'm like an undisciplined yogi, is exactly what I am. But I am devoted to a few things. I'm devoted to
Mhm.
my client success. I'm devoted to my business. I'm devoted to the person that I am becoming each day. I'm devoted to this work in the
Mm.
world. And it's like through that, discipline and consistency is natural. But discipline is like, I feel like someone's going to spank me, which I've also embraced as well, that there's a part of me that wants to be bad. As you said it too, like you have the badass in the title of your things. And I love this. Like part of me wants to be bad, but that doesn't mean that I have to like light my business on fire once a month to
Right.
like get that feeling of bad. Like I can just be a bad girl. Just be that.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. It's
Yeah.
so, yes, it's so, so, so true. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. You get to give yourself, let yourself be naughty and whatever. But it's like, yeah, still knowing, yeah, the devotion piece is so huge. I found that same thing for myself. And that's why I love how you begin your work. I still like come back all of the time to the pillars of my work and like those core parts, because that helps me remind myself why I'm doing what I'm doing, why it's worth it, because there are so
Mm.
many times where it's like I just want to give up. I'm like, okay, that's right. There's a greater reason and purpose, and connecting with that. Um, it's like you're fueling that fire, and it's you're learning how the skills to like build a fire and tend the fire, and it's an everyday thing. You can't just like, you know, leave.
When you put it that way, yeah. When you're a fire keeper, you're devoted to that fire, and this is what transformation is, and that's the work that we're all in. We're all in the
Yeah.
work of transformation, and that element of fire is that transformation. Exactly. Like if you're giving offerings to the fire, you're giving offerings to the fire, or you're not, or you're tending to the fire, or
Mm,
you're not. And
yes.
if you're resistant to the, some of these kind of the words that we use in marketing. So something I can speak to now is like there are some words in marketing that I'm just like, why would anybody even say that? Like
Mm,
lead generation, like what does that mean? But
mm,
I put it in the program so that like we can start to kind of see what those
mm.
words actually mean, lead generation. Because if you say that word, you're like, ew, business is boring and not fun. But if you say,
Yeah.
if you share, if you say I share a message, people are attracted to it, and then they get warmer. It's like coming to a fire. They get warmer and warmer and warmer by the fire of my voice, by the fire of the lessons that I'm offering, that we are offering to the world, and they get warmer and warmer and warmer. And that's why when they're saying warm leads, like leads are
Mm,
humans, but we are guiding them. So I like to say, but leading them is what we're in leadership. So I had to
yeah.
change the word, but then I had to come back to the word to make associations that made sense for me and who I am. And we both love leadership, and so there's nothing wrong with leading people to
Yeah.
their next level of life. And so, oh,
Yeah.
okay, warm leads, now it makes sense.
Mm,
Now it makes sense to me,
love
and I
that.
don't have to be resistant to just to something as meaningful and non-meaningful as a word, because words have the meaning that we give them. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my
Yeah.
God. That was something that attracted me to your program too, is I was like, okay, well, she's using these concepts that are still like, they're not, I wouldn't, yeah, like, I mean, I don't really want to say like mainstream, but like you're using concepts, like you were inventing everything, like, completely from nowhere. But it
Mm.
was like the way that you were phrasing it helped me to understand, like, oh, okay, you're wording it in a way that's appealing to me. Um, that helped me as I was forming my own offer to understand the languaging piece that you talk about like using the
Mm.
language that your people are using, because it's like those, to me, it's like, there's a million doorways and portals to get to the same place. But it's important if somebody looks at a door and they're like, I do not want to go in that door, like, or if they're like, ooh, that one really calls to me, and it's like that we get to craft, like on the energetic plane. I visualize things like that when I'm
Mm.
thinking of, calling my people in. I think of everything in a really energetic way of like, ooh, I'm creating this beautiful room I want to invite people into, and like, oh, how do I want the door to look? I want it to be inviting, and I want it to be something that they feel like a gift they're giving themselves, not like a punishment of like, I have to do it this gross way to make money and I don't like it, but I have to punish it's like, no, no, no. Like you get to do it in a way that feels good and is inviting to you too.
Yes. I love that. Right. Because, but I just want to speak to something deep for a moment because it's coming up. We are both like, I feel like why we resonate is because I can see your visions. Like as you were visualizing, I was like, wow, this is so beautiful that you so are able to articulate the visions in such a way that I'm sent there as well. And some people, that's not
Mm,
how they work, and that's okay, but they're going to be able to open place in them, the more that they're around folks like you and I who are visionaries, and like,
Yeah.
and that's really beautiful. And I started to speak to visionaries because I didn't even know that my process of doing this, of like creating this very energetic place from this place of a visionary world that is also a reality
Yeah.
that exists, is like this I also do. And for you to do that, like just with yourself, even never having shared it with people, like you can or you don't have to, because that energy is there and
Yeah.
people start to feel something from you that they don't feel anywhere else. And that's how we call for dream clients, is we just like, it's not all about the strategy. And when you like, the strategy then would be like, how can I block time out of my calendar so that I can sit and vision? Because we forget that this like time bending is a strategy. Like, how do we bend time? How do we collapse time, bend it? How do we have more time when we need it? And
Yeah.
how do we um take like get results faster? Is this work that you do so naturally, and this is our gifts. This is our gifts. And so yeah, this is coming through now, and just like hope we both go and recreate the rooms in our minds, and we invite the people there and we do that work first. And that's why we are elevating our own message and elevating our own standards and elevating our own programs, because we
Mm,
allow ourselves to have space to be in our gifts, as well as the kind of
mm,
like roots on the earth, like what can I do now that I've done all the energy work and my
yeah.
mind is right, like what can I do in this 3D realm so that people know that they also, and it's that being seen and sharing that content and
Yeah.
pressing the send button and going live. And so we can already see that there's so many facets
Yeah.
with leading people. And that's why it's like, just get in that room. Get in that room that Valerie created in the energetic realms. Like, get by her side, get in near
Mm,
people
yeah.
who give you that good feeling and who are doing and being who you want to, what you want to do, and who you want to become. This is kind of
Yeah,
the deep
nourish
love vibe.
yourself. Yes, because it realistically does take a lot of energy for our human selves. It's like those parts of us that can connect to all those energetic realms. It's like, oh, I'm already there and it's right, like it's perfect, and then it's like, well, for me to go as a human, to do it takes way more steps. And so yeah, being invited into that energy and being held and supported in that, like, what I would call frequency, it feels so good because, as you know, like we all go through, like I would say, like mindset and confident turbulence as an entrepreneur. Like it's like, oh yeah, here I go, and then it's like, wait, can I do this? Like all of these questions and things come up, and it's so supportive to have somebody, a mentor like you or like me or like anybody else who's holding that space for you to get to be human and divine at the same time. Connect with your visions, and then like it's okay that it's super clunky, when you start to bring it into the world too. Your graphics
Yes.
might, like when I started this, I was so frustrated that I was like, I can see this beautiful room, but my graphics look like a 5-year-old. But I was like, I have
Yeah.
to get better at it by doing it.
Yeah, if that's what you want to do, because that's something that always like, I think we're so similar, and that's why we resonated with each other. But I was like, this piece, I know that all of like the gurus and all of my mentors are like, you should not be doing your own graphics. And I was like, I don't care if you think it's a waste of time, like, because I love it. I love that part of it. And so sometimes it's a waste of time, and sometimes it's us infusing our energetic signature in the graphics. But I do teach that it is more important about, because it wasn't like you were just creating graphics and expecting the graphics to do the heavy lifting of
Yeah.
attracting people to you. You were creating graphics and you were also sharing amazing content that touched
Yeah.
people's souls, and you were also uh going live in your group and having beautiful topics to discuss. So like the graphics were something that you wanted to do, and you stuck with it long enough to get to something where you're like, hey, I like this is me right now, this is fun.
Yeah.
But it's for all those of you who don't like doing graphics as much as Valerie and are committed to getting better at them. You actually don't have to, because it's more about it's about that energy piece that Valerie helps you with, of like receiving that support and being guided in
Yeah.
this very visionary way. And then it's about kind of cleaning up your mindset of like, am I good enough? And like, is this what people want to hear? And then the subtle tweaks to your messaging that
Mhm.
that allow you to speak exactly to who you desire to work with.
Yeah.
Because most of us, I think now, leaders, you are working with leaders, I'm working with leaders, is like we want to work with people that show up for the work.
Mm,
and
yeah.
and there's a subtle messaging that you do naturally, so that's really beautiful. But folks that maybe that's not their expertise, or they don't see how natural, that it's a natural ability in all of us. Language is embedded when that's
Yeah.
like kids. You have a kid, like you could
Yeah.
probably teach your child Spanish, whereas like me, we can't, we can't learn it as well. It's like I
Yeah.
live in a Spanish speaking country and I'm still flubbing it up. And with children, it's language is us actually. So like the
Yeah.
fact that like that's a natural gift of yours, but it's a gift that anyone can cultivate. And then
Yeah.
it becomes these subtle tweaks of, I want to work with leaders, or I want to work with this kind of character. I want to work with someone who has this kind of character and who's ready for deep work. Then
Yeah.
we get to see where we're speaking to folks that aren't our dream clients, and
Yeah.
where we get to just kind of go out there with a bolder message and say, hey, like, this is who you are, this is what I know about you, and this is my work in the world.
Yes, yes. Like throwing a party and you're like, "Oh, okay, well, if these are the things that are gonna be here at the party, like who really would have the most fun here? Who would benefit the most?" And it's like you don't you and the other people aren't gonna enjoy it as much as you could, if you take the time to be intentional about that. And then it gets to be more and more and more fun. And that's where I find like the more that I personally connect with people and especially connect with people who are on my wavelength, then I just get fed from the work that I do and I don't find it to be overwhelmingly draining. And it's like the sooner that you put yourself out there and start just connecting with other humans, if that's what your business is about. For
Yeah.
me, it's all about connecting with other humans. It's like whenever I return to that of being in service and learning more about the humans that I'm serving and building relationships with, like my business gets to feed me. And it's just this loop, over and over and over. And it's so fun to choose that over old paradigm of like hustle, drain, get burned out, all of those other ways. So yes, I love the foundation that you bring to that.
Oh, thank you so much. This has been such a lovely conversation. I know that it's benefited so many folks out there that want to get started. They want to share their voice. They want to be around other empowered women that are not perfect. Like nobody
Yeah.
around here claiming we're perfect. Like we have been through the things that you've been through, and we simply committed
Yeah.
and identified. Like you have such a gift of identifying what your gift is and then owning that.
Mm,
And and other people have gifts that we have similar gifts, but other people have gifts that like I have never even like I can't do that. But so like let's combine our gifts
yeah.
and like you just get to show up and receive the codes. And so
Mm,
yes, get inside the room, reach out for support before you think you're ready. And it's just a beautiful process, and own the process. That's what I want to say as my last kind of
love it.
yeah, is that it's a
Process.
process.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like if you feel sad some days, like you are a human with having a human experience that also wants to have a business. And like the way that we do it in this world, in this kind of world of like trying to be perfect in some way, and this kind of glossy like Instagram has changed for me. It's kind of a beautiful place where I am noticing people are like, hey, I'm a mess. But like look at all the cool things I did, and like people are owning like actually what it actually took to get to where they are and where they want to be. And that like I would rather be a million things other than perfect.
Mhm.
And that's how it should be. I mean, I don't give shit on
Yeah.
people, but I want to give people permission to
Yeah.
be a work in progress,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
while they're sharing, because the process is one of, okay, now something something happens in the life sometimes, like you still are a mother and a wife and you still have other things going on. And so
Yeah.
your business is a part of your day to day, but like, you're going to have, the kid might fall down, he might just, you have to show up and have that empathy. And that's the presence. It's like, that's what it is. Like,
Yeah.
I am here for my child in this moment, but the business doesn't go away because of it. But like, you're not going to be coaching people every day, all day. And so you get to have your process, you get to have your family, and you get to have things that you're still growing into. Um,
Yeah.
and your kid is not never going to fall down. He's always going to have his mommy there. I think I heard you share a story of something like that. That's why it came through. But he's perfect, and if anybody's perfect, it's him. But the rest of us should own that we're not.
Yeah. Yes, it's messy. It is messy. And I think normalizing that and being like, at every single level, there isn't really a time in which there's no challenge. And so I think like giving ourselves the gift of like witnessing ourselves being resilient. I actually know for me, like just by showing up for my business, even when there's a part of me that's like, some days if I don't want to, I get to take a step back. And some days I'm like, okay, well, what is a way I could make this more inviting? Or I get to be creative, but I still get to witness myself showing up because it's like that builds resiliency. And like it's flipping that association from just feeling like, totally dominated or something, by being made to do things when we were growing up and being like, I get to do this. Like, I get to show up. I get to be resilient. I get to experience what it feels like to stick with something when it's challenging. It's really rewarding. But if you don't view it that way, like you might never enjoy your business because there's probably always going to be some element of it that's like, if you're like in a growth mindset, like you're not going for comfort, you're going for like stretching those edges, right? And like breathing into it. But it's just like in yoga, I always love talking about yoga when it comes to stretching your edges because in yoga, sure, you can try to just force something, but like you probably won't have the result you desire. You're not enjoying it. And you're also not circulating prana through your body. But if you
Mm.
get to that edge and then you say, okay, let me send my breath there. And like, well, how can I deepen into this experience? You start to just slowly expand your capacity for doing that. And I find that in business, you're doing it in not only by taking action, but also in receiving support. Like it's also a practice to receive support and allow yourself to be held by people. It's like a legitimate thing most of us need practice in. So that's like that part of investing before you're ready. Like, yeah, do it because you're going to become more and more and more and more ready the more you experience it. And it'll become, and that's one other piece that I just want to speak to with your program because I was really aware of how much I was shedding people pleasing tendencies in my personal life and codependency. When I came into your program, I was seeing all the ways that in previous programs, I was like, oh, I'm kind of like trying to validate this other person's offer by like being their dream client, like, and fitting into a mold instead of just
Mm.
like trusting that me showing up like gives you whatever you need, right? Like to tweak your offer or like me showing up authentically in that moment, like is actually a gift to you too as the creator. And so as I started being like, I felt safe enough in your space to be like, okay, I'm going to take longer than like how long Christina maybe says this is going to take, or like, I'm going to do it in this way and take all of the things you had to share and infuse it into, my personal experience. I just started like not making myself wrong anymore. And I just started to be like, how can I take Christina's unique, wisdom and all of the skills she's offering and then like bring it into what I'm building and do it in a way that feels really good to me. And then it just was like, that's what makes it sustainable and not just like, mentorship where you can only function when that other person is like telling you what to do. I was like, how can I
Yes.
like really weave this together? Um,
Ah.
and so it's been really awesome because it's felt so, yeah, you have really created a safe space, I think, for people to explore how to do that and to drop the sense of yeah, people pleasing that I used to get into that pattern with other mentors and think I had to like make them right, if that makes sense.
Wow, it's so interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that, because it's so helpful for the people watching right now. Because what I think what you and I would both love for our folks to know, that this is an experience for them, that the energetic
Yeah.
exchange is
Yes.
the investment. And
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
at some point in my younger days, like I would get like sad if people didn't get results or like
Yes.
because I cared so much about them. However, this was aligned with codependency, like
Yeah.
because it was more about like in that moment from that energy, it was about me rather
Yeah.
than going like this person came and got exactly what they needed. And some people it takes a little bit longer, and that's really beautiful. Exactly, like I don't want anyone to feel wrong about their own timeline, especially
Right.
mothers to young children. I just know, and I say that when someone says, oh, I'm a mom, I get like, don't worry about it. Like, yeah, I can work 8 hours a day. Like I
Yeah.
don't, but I can. Like I understand that there's no physical possibility with
Right.
even if you wanted to. So like I just know that you're going to take it in your own timeline and in your own way. And yes, that has been a growth for me as I received coaching, as I became a clearer channel. But I did
Mm.
have to start, and I did have to kind of realize what was appropriate in the coaching. And I have training in psychotherapy, but there was such the strictness in psychotherapy of not bringing me at all into the
Oh,
container.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're noticing in coaching and in guiding that it is like it's not about us, but
Yeah.
it's about this two-way relationship. And
Yeah.
I do have gifts and wisdom and experience to pass on.
Yeah.
But when I like you can notice here, like I'm not claiming your results. Like they came from you, the work that you put in, and the beautiful like refinement of your message, and the
Mhm.
owning of your power, and the owning of this concept that we're speaking to of like I'm not codependency. I'm not going to show up in this container to validate this creator. Like I'm going to take it and flip it on its head and make it my own, and that's what it's all
Yeah.
about. That's why I even give choices in my some of the lessons of like it's kind of to like choose your own adventure of like I'm going to do this first, I'm going to do this second, I'm going to do this third, because there is no one way to make this possible. There is no one way to make a beautiful bold money from your gifts.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I want to show people what is possible. And you're I'm having this interview of
Yeah.
like actually it takes kind of going like owning what it is that you want to do,
Mhm.
while because you were always coachable. That was the thing. It's like you always showed up to receive, and it probably coming from that place of like this is for me. This is
Yeah.
for me. Like this is because I had created this for you. I created this for you. Like my reward is, yeah, like what this is a reward for me. Sure, this feeds me, like of course.
Yes. Yeah.
And when people decide, actually, hey, from your program, I learned that I do not want to be a coach and there are easier ways to make money. I'm out of here. Peace. That
Yeah.
they got what they needed. They got what
Yeah.
they needed. I still showed up the same. And
Yeah.
I don't take it personally. Like,
Yeah.
I don't take it personally. And that's what you need to know about folks like Valerie and I. If you want to join one of our containers, join our groups, because you're going to get a clear channel. You're going to get somebody who's there for you, but not there to coddle you. Of just like, like I've created this, and how can we work through any resistance, or how can we energetic release things that are standing in your way. And like, but
Yeah.
but like I don't chase after my people's results. Like accountability for me is like
Mhm.
there's an entire business school I have created for you. Like here's a
Mhm.
weekly
Yeah.
reminder that it's still there. But like if they need me to call them and say, did you do your work? That's coming from a different space. And I understand this too, because of that thing I talked about before is like sometimes I just want a good spanking, but that it's like I need to go get that in another way.
Yeah. Exactly. Very fun activity in and of itself, for sure.
It's like if you want your coach to spank you, you need a different kind of coach. They exist also too.
Totally. Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Go out and get what you need.
I love it.
So fun.
Yeah.
Amazing. This has been so lovely. Thank you for sharing so vulnerably, for always bringing the extra layer of truth. And I'm sure folks can feel you and know that you're the guide for them. And if you feel that way, we're going to leave the links to Valerie's group and how you can get on a call with her and see how you're vibing. And if this is something that is going to help you to get to that next level that you're calling in, just reach out to us. We got you. We're here for you. All
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. Anything you want to say before we close?
No, just thank you so much. This has been really fun. And just inviting anybody who is thinking of joining, right? Like a year ago, I signed up with you. So just like feel free after you watch this interview, anybody, like just take a second and just take that moment to envision a year from now, like where you can be. I didn't feel the way that I am feeling right now a year ago, but you get to start to invite that into your experience and just know that it's possible and know every little step that you take in Christina's course, or if you work with me, like all of those, you're just walking that path and it's such a beautiful, beautiful thing. So it's so fun, Christina, to like reflect on this year by having this interview with you. So thank you.
Oh,
I was
yeah. Celebrating you, and we will talk so soon. And let's check in. This has been really fun, and I think we can do some more of these down the future and collab in this way
yeah.
because your work is incredible. And yes, this has been amazing.
Woo! All right. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Talk soon. Bye bye.